Mr. Carreras, could you adapt yourself to loneliness? You're on this island, you don't know how long you're going to be there. Could you face it?
Well, not really, I don't.
Now, you have 8 records only. Did you find it very difficult to choose?
Well, it is very difficult, but I tried as an opera singer to choose the voices that really impress me, and of course tenor voices, but it's quite difficult.
Right. Well, what's the first voice you've chosen? Whose is it?
Well, I think then if you ask to a tenor, which is the the most impressive and most important voice of ever, talking about tenor voices, is of course Enrico Caruso.
And what would you choose to hear him sing?
Well, why not from I Pagliacci, Vesti la giubba?
Now, you were born in Barcelona, is
Exactly,
that right?
yes, yes.
Now, in the mid-40s, Spain was in rather a poor state after the war, after the Civil War.
Yes, yes. And I was born exactly on 1946, and that was, as you say, not the best conditions.
Yes. You come from a large family?
I have another 3 brothers, 1 sister and 2 brothers, and we are a very unique family. Well, in Spain, you know.
Tightly knit?
Yes, very much.
And is it a family interested in music?
Well, not particularly before I started to sing.
How did you become interested?
Well, that's a funny story. I went to the cinema with my family when I was a child to see this beautiful film called The Great Caruso by Mario Lanza. And, of course, this is a reason for our next tenor, which is Mario Lanza himself.
Well, go on and tell me about the film, what the effect it had on you.
Well, after seeing this film, the day after I start to sing at home. I was, 6 or 7 years old, and I start to sing operatic arias.
The ones that you had heard Mario Lanza sing?
Yes. And of course my family, at the first moment they was afraid. And then they decide, then I had a musical inclination, and they sent me to the conservatoire to study music and piano.
You made your debut as a singer very early.
Yes, my first appearance was in Barcelona in an opera called El Retablo di Maese Pedro, composed by Manuel de Falla, and I think I was 11 at the time.
Yes. What was the part you played?
Well, the part is El Trujaman. That's the boy who explains what happens with a marionette theater.
Yes.
You know. It's a fragment from Don Quixote de la Mancha.
Now, you decided that you were going to be a singer. Obviously, this was very important to you, but you also studied chemistry.
Yes, that's right.
You didn't know which way to go.
No, well, I always was thinking to be an opera singer, and I studied music, as I said, and piano, and voice a little bit later. But because my brother, my oldest brother, he started a little, very small chemical plant. They decide, well, you never know with artistic career. It's better to have something sure, you know. And for that reason, I start in Barcelona at the university studying chemistry.
That was a sort of safety line.
Yes.
What was your first appearance as a grown-up?
Well, the very, very first thing was in Barcelona, in a very small role in Norma. The character is Flavio.
Who was singing Norma?
Was for the occasion of the first Montserrat Caballé Norma.
Now, she and her brother Carlos were very impressed with you, weren't they? They helped you a lot.
Yes. They was fantastic with me from the beginning. And, you know, when you are very young and an artist like Montserrat Caballé say to you, well, I think you have a talent, I think you have a beautiful voice, I think you can make a beautiful career, that gives you an incredible, a tremendous moral support. And that's the case. I mean,
yes, surely. Well, now, you've already told us who your next tenor is going to be. That's Mario Lanza, whom you saw and heard playing Caruso. What's he to sing?
A very light Rossini song, the famous Tarantella, La Danza.
Which he sang in The Great Caruso.
Yes, yes, yes.
When did you first sing in Italy?
Well, First thing in Italy, I want a Verdi competition in Parma,
Yes.
and that gives me the opportunity to sing in Italy for the first time.
Well, to sing Verdi in Parma must be rather alarming, because it's Verdi's town and the inhabitants know all about it and exactly how it should be sung.
Yes, of course, and the people there are, of course, very proud, and I mean, it's quite difficult. But if they love you, they are really very enthusiastic, very, very, very much.
And winning that competition led to an important contract.
Yeah, I had my first appearance in Italy,
Yes.
in Parma, and then I went to, after this series of performances in Italy, to the United States to sing for the first time in New York, but not at the Metropolitan, but at the New York City Opera.
And that was a long contract.
Yeah,
You were with Julius Rudel for...
that's it, exactly.
For how long?
Well, 3 seasons exactly.
And you sang some very important roles there.
Yeah, I had the opportunity in New York with the New York City Opera Company to sing the many roles for the first time, like Alfredo in Traviata or Edgardo and Lucia, also Cavaradossi, Pinkerton, plenty.
Yes.
And that was a very great help for me.
To be settled in one place and learn the repertoire.
Yes.
And to learn English.
Yeah, well, my English is very bad. I'm very poor. I'm sorry about that.
It's very good. Let's have your third record. What's that to be?
Well, that's going to be my favorite tenor. That's Giuseppe Di Stefano. I think he's somebody who changed a little bit the way to sing. I think he's an incredible sensitive singer and fantastic voice. The color of that voice is only comparable to Caruso or Bjorling. And, of course, the phrase, the interpretation, and I think Di Stefano is, for me, the greatest tenor of ever.
And what does he sing on this record?
Che gelida manina from La Bohème.
Did you first sing in England?
My first appearance was at the Royal Festival Hall in a concert version performance of Donizetti's Maria Stuarda with Montserrat Caballé and Shirley Verrett.
And at Covent Garden?
That was in 1974 and was Alfredo in Traviata.
Things were happening very quickly, weren't they? I mean, once you got started with your career, then it was all very exciting.
Well, I must say, professionally speaking, I'm a very lucky man.
Yes.
But I think also it's because it's lucky to be a tenor. Every opera has an important tenor role. That means probably it's much easier for a singer to make a career if he's a tenor.
Because there aren't all that number of good tenors about, or so they say in the musical world.
Nowadays, we have very, very good tenors. But, you need a tenor for every opera.
Of course. And you sung, well, all the major opera houses now, the Metropolitan. You come to Covent Garden every year, I believe.
Yes, I am very happy about that.
And Vienna, La Scala, Salzburg. Now, you're a lyric tenor. You're not yet interested in the heroic roles, the very dramatic roles.
Well, not really, because I don't have yet the voice to sing certain roles. Let's see how the voice develops on the next few years.
You've been working for Herbert von Karajan, and he persuaded you to undertake one or two stronger roles than you're accustomed to. Radames, for example, in Aida, you tackled for the first time with him.
Yes. He asked me to sing Radames, and he says to me he liked a new approach to the role, showing the romantic Radames, not only the soldier, the hero. And he says, I want to make a much more lyrical approach to the role, to the opera, and the proof that he took Miriam Lafreni for Aida, which is a fantastic singer, but not a dramatic soprano. And I'm not a dramatic tenor, but a lyric tenor, as you say. But I think we did, for 2 years, Aida in Salzburg. We made the recording as well. And I'm very happy about it, I must say.
A very interesting production.
Yes.
Record number 4, another tenor?
Yes, another tenor, and the opinion of many people, that's called The Voice, and that's Jussi Björling. I think that's an incredible voice, an incredible singer, and every opera lover knows that Björling is probably with, as I said before, with Caruso and Di Stefano, the most beautiful voice.
And what shall he sing?
In Gemisco from Verdi Requiem.
The first recording you ever made?
Well, it was in the United States, and was a Rossini opera called La Pietra del Paragone. That was many years ago.
Yes, that was when you were at the City Opera.
Yes, that's it, yes.
Recording, of course, now plays a very big part in your career.
Yes.
You're one of the few singers who isn't ashamed to admit that they use recordings of great singers of the past in studying their roles.
I think everybody does, but somebody cannot admit it. I don't know why. I think it's a great help for us. And you learn things you have to do, and you learn things you never have to do. I mean, listening to other artists, to other singers.
Yes.
And I really do. When I have to learn a new role, I really try to have this opera from as much interpreters as possible.
To listen critically.
To listen, yes, of course. Of course, then you have your own interpretation, your own feelings, and your own capacity. But I think it's fantastic to have the opportunity to listen to all the others.
You've recorded some arias from Spanish zarzuelas, the Spanish operettas. Have you played in any of them on the stage?
Never, unfortunately. I mean, I would like very much to do it, but I didn't have the opportunity. Mm-hmm. But I enjoy very much to sing that kind of music sometimes.
It's a very distinctive kind of operetta, isn't it? We don't hear very much of that music in England.
No, well, that's a big market, of course, in South America and in Spain, but unfortunately we don't have the opportunity to put that on stage with dignity. I mean, because, of course, to make not only opera, but also operetta, it's very expensive. And in Spain, unfortunately, music goes ahead because private subventions, not because the government helps the art. And that's a pity, but it's like that.
Oh, it may come. Record number 5 we got to.
Well, that's coming back to Mozart. That's, in my opinion, the greatest Mozart specialist on the last 20 years or 30 years, and is also one of the most beautiful voices, with a purity and with a style. In my opinion, it's better than anybody else for this kind of music, and that's Fritz Wunderlich.
And which aria shall we hear?
Well, the famous picture aria from the Magic Flute.
Is your home still in Barcelona, Mr.
Yes.
Carreras?
Yes.
Can you spend much time there?
Well, the other day I was counting how many nights I spent in Barcelona in 1980, and it's something around 17. And we are already at the end of the year.
Oh, that is sad. Where do you do most of your recording?
In London, here in London, yes.
Is there any one role which you particularly love, so that sometimes you wake in the morning and say, oh, good, I'm singing whatever it is tonight? One role that you really relax in and enjoy?
Many, I can say. Maybe Rodolfo in Bohème, Werther, Don Carlos, Edgardo in Lucia. But I think the one which is not relaxing because it's very difficult, but which I really love to do, it's Riccardo in Ballo in Maschera. I think that's my favorite role.
Yes, it's an exciting opera. Any roles that you still haven't had a chance to do in the theatre that you're very keen to tackle?
Well, Don José in Carmen. I was saying that for the first time at Covent Garden, 1982-83.
Oh, splendid.
And also Trovatore. I'm going to sing that for the first time at Covent Garden in 83. And of course then it's Othello. That's something for the tenor, you know. But I don't yet feel, not vocally, not artistically, and not as a man, mature enough to take this role.
Yeah, that's a great testing role, yes. That really is a challenge.
Oh, yes, that's something else.
What about recitals, the concert hall? How important is that to you?
Well, I think that's very important, and I'm very glad I have the opportunity to do several recitals a year, combined with my opera performance. I try to do 12, 15 recitals in a year, because it's a complete different contact with the audience, and also that give you the opportunity to reach places than you cannot reach with singing opera, because they don't have an orchestra or an opera house.
Mm-hmm.
And also it's very good for the style, for your voice. I think it's health for the voice to do recitals, because it's very different to sing with a full orchestra than to sing with a piano. And that gives you the opportunity to put yourself in a discipline, you know.
The piano's not going to cover anything, is it?
Yeah.
Sixth record, what's that?
That's, for me, the exponent. That's right in English. The
Exponent?
Exponent of the bel canto opera. I mean, bel canto music. And that's aria from Bellini's Il Pirata, sang by, in my opinion, the greatest bel canto singer, which is Montserrat Caballé.
Presenting opera is a highly technical operation. There are an awful number of things that can go wrong and that do go wrong. Yeah. What's the worst experience you've had in an opera production?
Not involved in an opera production, but I remember being a spectator in a theater. I don't going to say where, but in Italy, exactly.
Yes.
That was a performance of I Pagliacci,
mm-hmm.
and the baritone comes to the stage to sing the famous prologue. And unfortunately, he was in not a very good voice. He was not in a great night, and he did 2 or 3 cracks in the famous A flat, and also again on the G at the end of the aria, and he got boo, but very loud, incredible. And then after 1 minute of boos and all that things, he managed to stop the audience, and he say very loud in Italian, "Are you booing me? Well, wait for the tenor."
You haven't heard anything yet. Oh, that's a lovely story. Right. Let's get on to your 7th record.
Yeah, that's a much more serious thing. I would like to say that I'm a big Mahler fan.
Mm.
And it's also very difficult to choose from all the Mahler production, a piece or a symphony or whatever. But I think the number 6, the Dante, the 3rd movement, it's something very special, particularly when conducted by Herbert von Karajan and the Berlin Philharmonic playing.
Well, could you look after yourself on a desert island? Are you a practical man? Could you build somewhere to live?
No. I'm terrible. I mean, I don't know if it's because I have to live always in hotels and traveling around, but I cannot do anything by myself.
Oh, dear. What are you going to eat? Can you do any fishing?
No.
Never tried?
Never tried.
Do you know anything about boats? Small
Nothing
boats?
at all.
Sailing?
Nothing.
You wouldn't try to escape?
I will, I think. I don't know how, but to be alone, I'm really afraid about that, really.
Yes.
And I will find a solution. I don't know how, but really.
You'll have to think something out.
Yes.
What's your last record?
Well, the last record is, in my opinion, the record talking about opera.
Mm.
And that's Tosca, conducted by Victor de Sabata and sang by Maria Callas, Giuseppe Di Stefano and Tito Gobbi. I think that's the most exciting recording of an opera never done.
Which section are we going to hear?
Well, I think it's the first duet between Cavaradossi and Tosca, the first act duet.
If you could only take one disc out of the 8 you played us, which would you select?
I think the Giuseppe Di Stefano's one.
You haven't chosen one of your own?
No, not really.
You wouldn't?
No, because I did plenty of recordings, but I'm not still 100% happy about any of them.
That's very modest of you. And you're allowed to take one luxury to the island. What would you like?
Probably that would be the picture from Velazquez called Las Hilanderas. I don't know in English how that it's...
Well, you described the picture to me once. It's spinning women.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Where does it hang? In the Prado?
In El Prado, yes. Yes.
And one book, apart from the Bible and Shakespeare, which are already on the island.
Well, probably a book, poems from Rabindranath Tagore.
The Indian writer.
Yes, that's it.
Good. And thank you, José Carreras, for letting us hear your Desert Island Discs.
I thank you very, very much. And goodbye.
Goodbye, everyone.